and then count us in. So 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the last week of the regular season for the Reddit League. I am Zotomo, and I'm joined, as always, by Calamity.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Great. And our special guest this week, also from Division 3, Gweilowizard. How are you doing, my friend?
I am good. Good to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. So lots to talk about and lots of predictions to make. So we're not going to waste any time. We're going to jump right into it. Starting with the Division 1 playoff semifinals and relegation match. So these people have been on a break for the last 2 weeks, so they're well rested. What do you think about these matchups, Gweilowizard?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what happens. I think for the Raidman Mucha Maguran matchup, I did some poking around in the stats, and Raidman Mucha's only loss was in round 3 on a rural world, in which Maguran outscored him handedly. But if we think about that as like a one-off, every other world map of Raidman's has been absolutely solid. And given his overall performance, I'm tempted to go his way. But it'll be pretty close for that one.
Okay. Very nice. Calamity, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, as Gweilowizard said, he did outscore Raidman on that map, but I think it was just one round from Raidman Mucha where he got like almost no points, and that's why his score was so bad in that map. They played against each other actually in week 6, I think it was, on a balanced world where Raidman won by like 200 points, so it was a very close game. And they played each other in season 1 as well, where Maguran won by like 7,000 points in Kansas, but that's probably not very relevant anymore. And I agree with Gweilowizard that Raidman's probably the slight favorite, but things could go either way here. It depends a bit on the seed as usual with these.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, Equinox promoted from Division 2 last season, doing very well in the playoff run here. Up against Simi, who was second overall in Division 1 last season, so not an easy match for him in the least. But Raidman and Maguran both kind of middle of the pack towards the bottom last season in Division 1, now getting their chance to show what they're made of in the playoffs here. How about the relegation battle, Gweilo?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's CG versus GC for relegation. Only one can remain. So Chicago's ahead on total score, but GC's outplayed them in 2 of the 3 world maps, though not by huge margins. Of course, they're both excellent players. And on a world map, the victor is going to depend heavily on pinpointing. So it could be anything from a few tens of points to maybe 100 points. So I'm hoping my fellow American wins, but I really don't know who to give the edge to here.
Okay. How about you, Calamity? What do you think is going to stay up?
I thought we were just doing one match at a time, so I'd still like to say something about Simi Equinox.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem. Yeah, I just noticed that Simi has choked world maps twice this season. Funnily, the only time he didn't was against Equinox in week 6 on a balanced world. If there's no round in North and South America, Simi will probably win and make his second final appearance. And if there is, well, he's hopefully learned from it. And I'd also like to say I thought the Reddit League as a whole has been relatively fair in quotation marks this season. In terms of having like the players with the highest overall scores towards the top of the table and having the ones with the lowest overall scores to the bottom. The only exception for that is Equinox, who I think had the second lowest score of Division 1, but still came in 3rd. So that's an interesting one there. And yeah, about GC and Chicago, it's hard for me to call. They played against each other in Kyrgyzstan, where Chicago dominated, but again, that's hardly representative either. And the world map scores have been very similar. Neither of them dropped below 24k in any of the 3 world maps we played this season. But yeah, neither of them have experience with playoff games either. So I'm wondering if that might come into play a little nervous maybe. And it's actually like a relatively rare case. In most of the matchups we've got this season, at least one of the players has some experience with either playing promotion playoffs, relegation playoffs, or in the case of this, Simi's played in the playoffs of Division 1 last year as well.
It's also interesting to note that the reason Equinox's score is so low is because he missed a round. I think he dropped like it was a 14,000 point differential just because he missed a round. So stats are not representative of skill there at all. So
I think he was still a bit lower than all the others at the top there, but yeah, you're right. He did drop a lot of points in that one game.
Yeah, indeed. We can take a quick look at just some overall stats of these competitors. I do have it broken down into those top 4 who are fighting for that playoff spot, as well as those 2 relegation competitors. As you can see, Raidman, Mucha, and Simi have a huge advantage in terms of aces compared to their opponents. But other than that, average scores not too far apart. Obviously, Simi there with a very nice over 24,000. But on a world map, kind of, it's almost anybody's game as more than anything because it's probably the most even of any of the matchups. Do you think so, Calamity? Or
yeah. There'll not be a lot of practice you can do, so it'll mostly come down to just, I guess, innate skill and a bit of luck, of course, as always with World Seeds. You never know where you're going to be placed in, like have a random round in Russia or like on an island in Greece, and those rounds can throw everything else out of order.
Indeed. Well, this should be very interesting. So hopefully we'll be able to cast 1 or 2 of those games this week. Yeah, so let's move on to Division 2 and those results from their matchup in Malaysia. As I said before, this is the last week of the regular season, and Calamity, something to note right off the start, Yellow Skarmory not playing in time, yellow card there for him.
Yeah, Schmingo actually said in the Reddit post that Skarmory dropped out entirely of Reddit League. I don't know if that's actually it or if he just worded it wrongly. I haven't talked to him about it, but I'd assume it's true. So yeah, he gets not only relegated, but if he retires, he's out of it entirely, which helps Benica out, I guess, because he gets at least one more shot at staying in the division. But yeah, there's not a lot to talk about here for me in general, other than that, because week went pretty much exactly as we predicted last time. No surprise wins at all, with Radox being the only one coming close to one. But even if Radox had won, nothing would have changed. Tall Impala would have still been 4th, Radox would have still been 9th. But his great game will probably give him a bit of confidence for his relegation decider.
Indeed. Gweilo.
Yeah, nothing too much to talk about here. The top 4 all win and the bottom 4 all lose. So the only change to the promotion and relegation slots was Skarmory and Benica flipping around. I wanted to shout out Mr. Blue for being one of only 2 undefeated players, the other one being Patriots FTW in Div 4. And then I also wanted to mention that Tall Impala and Radox's matches was particularly close. They were less than 300 points in a map that's with pretty big margins overall.
Yeah. So as you can see from these scores, some pretty big wins for the top of the tables to just kind of pad their score differentials in the final week. And we'll see what that all means for the table. Kind of already mentioned it. Nobody really moving except for a little bit towards the bottom there. And very noticeable is the big divide between the top 5 and the rest of the field. 23 points for Ice Daru and Tesco Tech sitting in 18, a 5-point difference. So definitely a clear top, and Ice just coming short, missing out on those top 4 positions for him. Radox made a climb towards the end of the season, but not enough to get out of that relegation battle with Benica, who's pretty much just lucky to scrape by the skin of his teeth there with Yellow Skarmory's yellow card in the final week. Yeah, but that doesn't really matter much anymore because we're into the playoffs for Division 2, the relegation. So congratulations to Mr. Blue and its RC or Radu on their automatic promotions. And hopefully we'll see Yellow Skarmory and Slovak Goldie in Division 3 next season. Maybe Yellow Skarmory just needed a break for a bit there, and hopefully it's not out for good. But let's take a look at those decider matches. Calamity, very interesting matchup. Tall Impala and Giovanni and Radox and Benica.
Yeah, Radox is back in the relegation decider yet again. Managed to win it last year. And yeah, can he do it again? Maybe. Two of them played each other on a balanced world this season. It's actually quite funny how all of these people seem to play each other on the world maps during the regular season. And yeah, Radox won by over 2,000 points there, but Benica actually won the other two world maps. Technically won, didn't play each other, but he got a higher score there. And yeah, again, similarly to probably the matchup between GC and Chicago, it'll depend a bit on luck, a bit on the seed, and a bit on the form on the given day that they decide to play it. And yeah, Tall Impala against Giovanni. Tall Impala actually also in the promotion decider for the second time, same as Radox in the relegation one. He lost to Schmingo last season by 84 points. So yeah, Giovanni is in no way an easy opponent, but he'll still hope to maybe this season finally get himself out of Division 2. They played each other on Puerto Rico, actually, where Tall Impala won by 13 points. Was a draw back then, but there are no draws anymore, and every single point counts now, and this duel may well come down to a few points.
Indeed. Gweilo.
Yeah, so tight match last week in Puerto Rico for Tall Impala and Stimfalax, but on world maps, Stimfalax has outscored Tall Impala all 3 times by an average of about 300 points, including a perfect score in week 9. So I would give Stimfalax a bit of an edge here, but of course it'll be exciting to see what turns up. And yeah, nothing more to say about the relegation match.
Yeah, I would have to put my hat in the Giovanni camp as well. Tall Impala does really, really well in those maps where he can practice. But unfortunately for him, as we'll eventually see, the AI world map is not a map you can practice. And so it'll come down to just kind of world knowledge and overall ability. And Giovanni tends to hold the edge on that. And I would give kind of my points to Radox. He's been in a good run of form. He's been putting up some good numbers, even if he hasn't been winning, while Benica has been struggling to even put up some good numbers in his losses. So that run of form may come into play for them as well. And Radox, as Calamity said, did survive last year. So maybe that experience will give him a little bit of a chance to stay up again this season as well. Yeah, so let's take a look at the results from Division 3 in Malaysia. Freckles having the bye week, so nothing changed for him there. But beyond that, pretty much everything going as we would expect, except Gweilo, maybe a bit of a relaxed victory lap from you.
An off week for me. I ran out of time. I was gonna try to record my match this week, but it was Sunday at 10:30 a.m., which is an hour and a half before the deadline for me. And I realized I hadn't played my match yet, so that all kind of went out the window. I did practice, just not enough. Yeah, there was a round that in the rural part in the middle of the main Malaysian peninsula that I just completely missed. There was also a slight heart attack for me yesterday when Redirect hadn't played his match yet. It seems like he got an extension, but if Redirect had missed his round, he would have gotten a red card, which would have meant the difference between promotion between me and Calamity would have come down to point differential on a map I had just completely blown off. So that was I'm glad that didn't end up happening, but that was a weird couple minutes for me.
Yeah, I did see the Discord channel blow up when everybody realized in Division 3 that Redirect might not have played his game in time, and the implications that might come from that, but it all worked out in the end. Any thoughts from you here, Calamity, on the final week in Division 3?
Yeah, if Redirect hadn't played, I actually got Schmingo to do the table for it. It would have made everything a lot closer at the top, but it wouldn't have actually changed anything. I would have been like 1,000 points score differential behind Gweilo, but it would have actually changed up the bottom half of the table completely. But he did play it, got his loss, and everything's fine. We had actually a very exciting last match day. Fios had a shocker, but with all of his competitors for the promotion playoff winning anyway, didn't really matter for him. Wakelok timed out in one of the rounds, robbing himself of securing his place in Division 3 next season. was inconsequential for Wolf Tracker, who would have needed a bit over 23,000 points himself to get to P4 based on score differential. I also do have to mention MD Spaceman actually had a really great end of the season, coming 2nd, 5th, and 2nd in the last 3 weeks. But it was just a bit late, and well, he'll have to go back to Division 4 and try get promoted again. And yeah, I'm obviously very happy with myself dominating Malaysia. And yeah, I'll get to join Hugo in the promotion decider now.
Yeah, and you probably would have still won even if I had played a little bit more serious. Like I wanted to call out the match between In the Basement and MD Spaceman as well, for being one of Div 2's only, or Div 3's only 3 draws, I think. So great scores by each of them.
Yeah. But despite that draw for In the Basement, as we take a look at this table, he does just clip and take that first spot, which was quite a surprise to him. How did I draw and go up a place? But yeah, that's how it works. So In the Basement taking that position on the last day, while Gweilowizard held it for, I don't know, we should maybe go back and look at that. How many weeks you held top spot?
I think it was week 3 or week 4.
Yeah, something like that. And just 1 week short, unfortunately for you. Calamity does claim that 3rd spot, with Hugo just scratching in to that 4th spot on score differential over Wolf Tracker. But yeah, very tight in that race that we looked at last week. And congrats to Calamity and Hugo for pulling out the wins here for that. But then down at the bottom of the table, pretty much everything stayed the same. Freckles had already played his match, so he had a bye week. So nothing moved for him, and Wakelock not quite able to get the points needed to climb out of that at all. So yeah, any other comments about how the table finished up, Calamity?
I just wanted to quickly mention that we should probably include the total score for next season in these sort of graphics, because M the Baseman having such a low score differential tells you nothing about whether he just had bad games and got lucky, or whether he had great games but also great opponents. In which case, for which in this case the second is true. He had, I think, in terms of total score, it was me with 235k. Then it was Gweilowizard and M the Baseman, both relatively close. I think to 23k or something, both around there. And then Hugo Alvaro and Wolf Tracker were both in like the 210,000s. And that's just not really reflected very well by the score differential. So just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, and then after that, there's a 30,000 point gap down to Theos. So big difference in the top and bottom half. That is kind of showed in the point totals, but not quite. Yeah, I noticed that as well.
Yeah, I mean, Theos does have that massive minus score differential, while Wolf Tracker has a pretty decent positive score differential. So there's a big dividing line there. But yeah, we'll see if we can work out. This was our first season doing these shows. So definitely for next season, we're going to have quite a few meetings in the off season and discuss how we're going to change things around and improve the graphics for next time. So hopefully next season will be even better for you all. But yeah, let's jump into those decider matches for Division 3 on the world map. Hugo Alvaro taking on you, Calamity, and Wakelock and Dem Freckles in the relegation decider. Predictions, Calamity? Do I even have to ask you?
Well, I mean, I've already touched on it a bit, but yeah, we've played each other in Puerto Rico, which is a game we also casted on the channel, so you can check that out if you haven't. But yeah, that game basically came down to both of us making one mistake. Mine was just a bit bigger. And yeah, in terms of world maps this season, I'm leading 2-1. But in general, yeah, I've always just struggled a lot with easy seeds, which I think is mainly what our matchup will come down to. Like if it's a hard seed, I'm pretty confident I can beat him. But if it's an easy one, I feel like my chances are a lot worse, and it'll come down a lot to how I do in my game, just generally how many mistakes I make. And yeah, I guess on whether Hugo can find everything easily or makes a mistake as well.
Yeah, but I think both of you have been in a pretty good run of form too. So it will definitely be a very competitive matchup and a repeat of last week. Anything about the relegation?
Yeah, Freckles and Wakelock have coincidentally also played each other in Puerto Rico. Freckles had a horrible game, giving Wakelock pretty much a free win. But yeah, similar to the matchups before, like I think it was GC in Chicago and Kyrgyzstan. Not very relevant. Puerto Rico is a whole different beast than a world map. Freckles did have a top 3 score in all world maps we played this season. And Wakelock sort of performed great in week 3, then mediocre in week 6, and he had his bye week in week 9, so we don't have a lot of statistical data from that. And yeah, Freckles, I don't think I've mentioned that actually before. The guy Radox played against in the relegation decider last season was Freckles, and he had a massive blunder in that game where I think he only got 600 points in that round, and he 5k'd all the other 4 rounds. So that's the main reason why he's in this division in the first place.
Oh no.
Yeah, so he should be the clear favorite on a world map, but Wakelock's not an opponent to take lightly.
Indeed, yeah. So our player relegated from Division 2 is looking not to fall even further down to Division 4. Freckles, please win because I don't want to face you in Division 4 next season. So anyway, Gweilo, anything from you here on these matchups?
Yeah. Basically, kind of along the lines of what Calamity was saying. I think you do have a bit of an edge, Calamity, in your match. Just you've got a 20,000 point higher total score, and you've outscored him twice in 2 of the world maps. But Hugo's pulled off several upsets this season, including me on a balanced world. Let's see what happens. I'm looking forward to it. And Freckles has also been stellar on world maps this entire season, so that'll be a good one to look as well.
Indeed, very good. Yeah, it's really hard to call the Hugo, Varo, and Calamity because, as we've pointed out, it's very, very close. They've traded blows back and forth. Depending on how you look at the stats, you could easily see it go one way or the other. But I think it's going to come down to one round. I think we even cast another game of Hugo's where it did come down to one round again. So not just against you, Calamity.
Do you think so? I don't remember that happening.
Okay, maybe I'm calling a different game. We've done a lot of them over the season, so but definitely a match to watch for. And because both players record, we should get this match for you, so you'll be able to watch it unfold in front of your very eyes. So to finish up, we do have to congratulate. Let me see if I can get my screens in order here. There we go. We do have to congratulate Max FI on securing that final promotion spot from Division 4 into Division 3, beating Mabos there, 24,961 to 24,416. A pretty close match, Gweilo.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't do much research into this last week, but Mabos had a higher score than MaxFi, I think, by like 2,000 points last week. So I kind of naively expected him to take it. But no, Max defends his position in second place in Div 4A and moves up to Division 3 next season. So looking forward to that. The main difference between them, I looked at their games individually, was round 4, which is an information-heavy location outside Johor Bahru, which is right near Singapore. The signs had lots of road numbers that were not the actual road. So pinpointing was very, very tricky. I was actually quite a bit off, but MaxFi placed half kilometer away as opposed to Mabos. I think it was like 50 kilometers. And he earns a slot in Div 3 next season.
Calamity?
Yeah, it's also quite nice to see that if you look at the actual result of this game, that it was actually just decided by Max being better all around and not just by Mabos making one mistake, because those kind of games always leave a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth where you have like a great game but just made one mistake and that decides everything. But yeah, Max was just better generally. I think he might have even, let me just look at this. I might have beaten him. Yeah, he beat him in all 5 rounds of the game. So that's, just a very good job from him. And I'm excited to see how well he'll do in Division 3 next season.
Yeah, very nice. So that'll wrap it up for us this week. Oh, never mind. I always do this, don't I?
Every time.
We have the map to look at before we go. So let's actually jump to that. I caught myself this week. Yeah, the map we're going to be playing on these decider matches is a world map, as we've mentioned many times, but it is an AI-generated world map created by Rolling Hill. Average score is 14,500 points, with been played over 10,000 times. Has over 80,000 locations, mainly because it is AI generated. You don't have to manually do a lot of it. But this might be the largest map in terms of locations we've played all season. But it is balanced to eliminate blurry and photospheres locations, and is supposedly distributed equally throughout the entire coverage of Google Street View. Should make it very interesting indeed. Yeah, so quite the map to play our deciders and playoff rounds on, Gweilo. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm actually a big fan of this map. Whenever I play for on my own, like for pleasure, I'll play non-moving games on an AI-generated world. I like how fair it is. So the computer generation means there aren't rounds made artificially harder or easier. Like I think there's a round in a diverse world where you like place directly looking at the Eiffel Tower. So not going to get anything like that in this map. But it also means there are fewer bait locations. I was looking at a discussion on Discord about this a couple weeks ago. But bait locations aren't as important in a moving game because you have much more clues to go off of. So I think I don't think it'll be pretty fair for that reason. The balance is biased quite a bit toward Europe. So expect more of these rounds. I think it's like 36% of the locations are in Europe. But it's not too bad. So yeah, generally I think it'll be a very fair map. I've played the Div 3 round already, which is quite fun. So yeah, really looking forward to it. And I think it's a great map to play for the promotion relegation matches.
Indeed. Calamity.
Yeah, this one is actually probably the most human AI-generated world I've played. For some members of the community who know me better, they might know there's a different AI-generated world map that I have a very strong disliking for because it just throws in random places that are like trekkers and just locations you can never guess, or locations that are just really weird. But I've not had any such locations in this map. Like if you would have told me I was playing a diverse world or any other user-picked world, I would have believed it probably. So yeah, looking forward to playing it and seeing how it goes.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. What a way to finish and make these decisions on a very interesting map indeed. Designed both for non-moving and moving challenges. So that will be quite the map. So yeah, that'll do it for us this week. We will see you all next time to finish up those decider matches, as well as take a look at the final for Division 1 and the overall champion of Division 1. And I believe we have a very, very special guest next time, Calamity.
Well, we'll see. Don't give anything away yet.
Okay, I won't spoil anything yet, just in case he has to change his schedule on us. But yeah, definitely a show you don't want to miss. And definitely keep tuned to this channel, because in the coming weeks, you're going to have lots of these matches that are going to decide these places. So definitely a good thing to watch. Yeah, so we'll see you all next time. Take care.
Bye.